Welcome to the Fund2000.com Real Estate Podcast. My name is Chuck Ham, and today we have a special guest. And I hope, Anvesh, I say your name properly. Anvesh Chakravartula.
Perfect.
Okay, good. And you are the CEO and founder of Rexdat, and as you see in the background there, Realoq. And today we're going to be talking about your solutions and what you're offering to the real estate industry. Anvesh, tell us about Realoq and Rexdat and what it is you're offering to the real estate industry.
Yeah. Chuck, thank you for inviting me to this podcast, first of all. I'm very happy to be here on the call today and be here with you to discuss about Reloq and also Rexdat. So to begin with Reloq, it started a couple of years ago, and we raised $3 million funding for Reloq. And since inception, Reloq, as a marketplace, it's a real estate marketplace. We call it as a multi-sided marketplace for real estate, because it caters buyers of the market, sellers of the market, and also mortgage shoppers of the market. We scaled to 8 states, Reloq, as of today, pretty much in the West Coast and 3 states in the East Coast and Texas in the Central. Realoq being a marketplace, we are catering to buyers, sellers, mortgage shoppers. We have about 400 agents on the platform who are ready to cater and also help our consumers. So it's a B2C product. And coming to Rexdat, Rexdat is a product of Realoq. Rexdat is a pure B2B product. That's been designed and established to cater real estate professionals, starting with real estate agents, brokers, association of realtors, MLSs, and whatnot, right? And also data consumers. Reloq is a marketplace focusing on consumers. Rexdat is a SaaS. It's a centralized listing management platform that we started, and we are also building a lot of other features at this point of time.
That is kind of like an MLS. Somebody can, a real estate brokerage, without any participation from an association or board, they can join Rexdat independently and manage their listings from what I'm seeing. Am I understanding that correctly?
That is correct, because the mission of Rexdat is to create a centralized platform for real estate data, right? And our goal and the vision in coming days to achieve is to make Rexdat as a single source of truth for real estate data. And Rexdat is not associated with NAR or any organization such. So to answer your question, yes, real estate professionals, agents, and brokerages, brokers can come onto the platform without any dependencies or anything such. They can input the listing. So Rexdat being a centralized listing management platform for the real estate professionals, they can add listing, add, edit, publish. It's a 100% listing management platform that's been already designed and also developed and delivered to the market as part of Rexdat. And we also have a syndication, data syndication in place. So when agents and brokers want to leverage Rexdat as a platform, listing can be inputted, listing gets syndicated to all other channels in the market, and gets published to the vendors and the marketplaces everywhere.
So, for example, if a real estate agent were to get a listing and they want to use Rexdat to promote that listing, where are all the syndication channels? Where is the consumer going to find that listing? If I'm understanding correctly, they're going to see it not by going to Rexdat potentially, but maybe some other places where consumers go. Or am I misunderstanding that because Rexdat is a B2B solution?
Rexdat being a B2B solution, it is going to cater, in the behind the scenes, basically, for real estate professionals. But when listing gets syndicated, it is going to get syndicated pretty much everywhere that we are actually seeing. So we are working with marketplace platforms like Zillow, Homes, brokerages, a lot of brokerages, by the way, like starting with Redfin, Compass, whatnot, like. Um, and currently, we have our own API channels for syndication of the data. But we are also partnering with Bridge Interactive, which is one of the prestigious syndication platform that's currently exists in the market right now. Like a lot of vendors and a lot of brokerages, pretty much everywhere, everyone in the industry that uses. So Rexdat has established partnership with Bridge Interactive, and that is going to streamline our process in syndicating the data to everywhere. And when it comes to consumption of the data, so the team is heavily working on setting up the contracts and whatnot. So to answer your question, Shaq, yes, for agents who input the data into Rexdat, our goal is to get that available or get that published pretty much everywhere, just like how they are currently experiencing with MLS.
Who would you say are your competitors in the market right now? What are the comparable products? I know that Rexstat is different in some ways, but obviously there's going to be some competition. So who is that?
Um, Rexdat has a different value proposition. When when we talk about competitors, I don't really see apple to apple match competitors for Rexdat. To be honest, that's because the nature of the platform, Rexdat platform that we built so far. So we started with listing management, but beyond that, there is a lot of story for Rexdat. It's not just about listing management in coming days. It is going to be one integrated solution for the real estate ecosystem. So the goal of Rexdat is to cater that the entire real estate 360-degree spectrum in that ecosystem, so that starting with listing management, anything that starts with adding or rating listing for real estate professionals, to syndicating, publishing the listing, syndicating the listing, availability of the listing in the marketplace or any other websites, and from there the transaction takes place. It's beyond the listing management, and it is yet to come. We are kind of infants in the market, but when I think about the competitors, there are a couple of listing management uh, vendors out there, like Matrix from CoreLogic, Flex MLS, and Paragon
Rapatoni.
from Rapatoni, Paragon from ICE. But the direction of that specific product is to cater just on the B2B side. But we want, our goal with the Rigstat is to create one integrated solution. So starting with listing management with integration of the Realoq as a marketplace, and down the line in the future, will be a very unique proposition for consumers, whether it's on B2C and also B2B side.
This is where it gets interesting to me because those competitors that you just listed, Flex, Paragon, Rapatoni, those guys, if I may be mistaken because I only know them from the perspective of a real estate agent having over 20 years used those different systems as our association has gone from one system to the next. I don't really know if they do what Rexstat is seeking to do right now and going straight to trying to get in front of the consumer independent of the association or the agent. This is why it's interesting to me because I believe the associations, boards of realtors, and MLSs, they've been kind of stuck only in that context and in that paradigm where they're only working with boards and realtors and not getting out to the consumers like you're talking about here. Is that accurate?
It is, yes, it is accurate. So the so-called competitors in the list that I just mentioned, their 100% focus is purely on the B2B. So which is,
Okay.
there's nothing wrong in it, right? So that could be the main intention, and it also depends on the business model from company to company. So and that probably would have made them to work directly through MLS and Association of Realtors, not through the lens of the consumers, or kind of integrated solution. Um, I do see there are different products in the company portfolios, like CoreLogic and whatnot, right? But they are more like a la carte. But the intention and the goal for Rexdat, and Rexdat is a product of Realoq. So as a company, the bigger vision and the bigger goal that we have is to create one integrated solution. CoreLogic and so-called those competitors, providing a la carte and just focusing on the B2B side, like as a SaaS providers or SaaS solution providers. Uh, one thing that really missing here in this, if you see from out of the box on the entire real estate ecosystem, it's always good to have one integrated solution, whether it's from Relock, combining with Rexdat or X vendor or Y vendor or any vendor, matter of fact. The integrated piece is what is really missing in the current real estate ecosystem. And what are the disadvantages for it? Like, I mean, there are a lot actually. Real estate professionals, agents, brokers, they're spending a lot of money just
Mhm.
for the same cost, for the same reason, and subscribing to a la carte solutions and doing the same thing what they're trying to achieve, and it's not at all cost effective. So yeah, Rexdad will definitely answer to all those issues, all those concerns, challenges for for our being one integrated solution for the real estate industry.
How much did the timing of the release of Rexdat and the timing of the development of that product have to do with the antitrust lawsuit? With that, did that have any um, correlation at all, or is it just completely independent? Because what I see here is your challenge, and I would like to see somebody defeat this monopoly. The challenge is the monopoly, because you need content and you need the listings, and you have them. I was looking over the Realoq. You've got listings. You've got, and a Rexdat is ready to take listings from, and if an association wants to hire Rexdat or a brokerage, you can get that right now. But the associations and realtors, they feel this allegiance or a loyalty to their boards, and they feel like if they're going to pay only to one and they've got a monopoly and it's all getting out to the consumer through that channel, I don't know how they're going to. I mean, on the other hand, it is fairly inexpensive what you're offering, so they could do both. Is that kind of what you're seeing here too?
It also depends on the way anyone look at the product, right? In the direction that they look at the product. Um, I don't want anyone to look this as a competition to anyone. I mean, it all depends on the perspective. First of all, Rexdad do offer a 60% lesser cost than any other platform out there. So, as a one integrated solution and just focusing on a la carte solution that's currently exist in the market, Rexdad as a one integrated platform, real estate agents and brokers can save at least 60% of the cost what they are currently incurring. So that's a great benefit on the cost side. And on the second thing, it's being a centralized platform, our bigger goal is to make this Rexdata as a single source of truth for the real estate data. So that's a bigger goal and the vision. Uh, the second phase of the cost perspective is, today an agent wants to access the data from one region. Let's say if the agent is part of one MLS, and let's take an example of California. So an agent is part of an MLS in the Northern California area, and if the same agent wants to access the data from other MLS in Central or Southern California area, so the agent has to be. It doesn't matter whether it's North or Central or South. It even from one MLS region to other MLS region, if they want to have access to the data, as you know, Chuck, like they have to subscribe and pay X amount
Mhm.
of dollars to gain the access to the data.
Right.
I think there's a lot of cost associated for real estate agents and brokers. And by the way, they are the owners of the data, right? So agents and brokers are there. Technically, they are the owners of the data, but they are in a situation where they are paying a lot of money just to expose their data or to get their data out into the market. So with Rexdat, our goal is to centralize that entire data system. And the reason why I keep on saying like single source of truth for real estate data is because that is much needed in the current real estate landscape. To one of your question is like monopoly or which directly turns to access to the data, right? So uh, having this blockage between one region to other region accessing the data, like data accessibility issue, whether we call it as a monopoly or kind of a controlling or whatever it is,
Mhm.
the terminology it is, but having that block, the blockage in accessing the data is really causing a lot of challenges and concerns in the real estate industry. And I strongly believe that is because, let's take this entire real estate ecosystem as a pie, right? So the pie, there are a lot of players in the marketplace. There are very few players in the data side, but there are a lot of players in the IDX offering side and social marketing side. 40% of the GDP do depend on real estate in the country, as we all know, right? And but when you see uh, the entire real estate ecosystem, whether it's a residential or commercial. I don't want to talk about the commercial because we are not in the commercial yet, but that's going to be our next session in the podcast. But for us, just focusing on the residential, I see real estate entire ecosystem as a pie. The challenge with this pie is the pie is not getting bigger. And
Hmm.
me coming from technology background, starting uh, before I started like Reloq, and I was working for Salesforce for a long time. And before Salesforce, I was working for Visa. So I was completely a technology guy, and with a passion in the real estate, I started Reloq. Um, when I compare with other domain, the companies in the other domain, whether it's a technology or finance or whatnot, and when I compare that with the real estate, so it is too tight. It is too tight. The pie, the opportunities for the pie to become bigger or go bigger are very very thin chances. Why? The only reason is that there is a restrictive mode in accessing the data. It is completely restricted. So, for example, if an agent or a broker wants to come out and leverage Rexdat, so is there a transparency established out there? I don't think so, right? So there are a lot
Not
of
not not unless they have put the information on something like Rexdat or somewhere else. But if you're dependent on the current model, which is through the current boards of realtors and MLSs, there's no transparency. And I know that because our brokerage tries to work out of town sometimes, and we are dependent on, like you said, joining another brokerage or on the good graces of another agent who's friendly enough to share with us how to access the property and what other private remarks they have there on the MLS.
I mean, there are a lot of dependencies, and those dependencies, not having transparent models in setting up the data and making it available to the consumers. Uh, so again, going back, whether you call it as a monopoly, whether you call it as a restrictive way of doing the business, so ultimately, it's actually killing the business. It's actually killing the real estate industry. Uh, so there needs to be something happen where it has to open up, and it should create a transparent way of doing the business so that people like me coming into this industry from leaving the tech behind, but still working on the tech side of the real estate, uh, starting with me, or you know or more people who are willing to pursue their passion, or get into the real estate domain. uh, it has to be clearly evident that okay, there is an opportunity here to do something better, right? And ultimately the end goal is to make this pie bigger. So if you compare with any company, matter in fact, in this real estate ecosystem, uh, to any other company in the other domain, those companies or those technology, those the way that they do business, there are a number of opportunities to grow that pie bigger. But I don't really see that in the industry. It's because of much restrictiveness that's been established and a lot of dependencies that's been established. So the goal here is to make Rexdat as a single source of truth for real estate data. Is because we want to create a centralization, centralized repository for real estate data, where let's say a brokerage or agent who is licensed to do the business in California, they don't have there's no point of paying for the data, for the same data 20 times more what you're paying, right? So
Hmm.
if the data can be made available, you know first of all, in a nutshell, you should never charge for inputting the data, to be honest with you. Never charge. Because if you start thinking from agent or broker's perspective, agents work their ass off to bring or to get a lead, to get and start getting working with the customer, whether it's seller, work with them closely. They spend a lot of time, uh, and they work very closely one on one and make sure the lead gets converted into kind of a transaction, right? So in this process, agent and brokers are heavily involved. So my point is like, when as an agent and a broker, when you guys are doing everything, you know um, in your position, why you should have kind of a restrictive mode to operate your business. So any restrictions, again, going back, the pie is still tight, right? So that has to be opened up. And that's where Rexdat will answer a lot of questions. So agent or brokers leveraging the Rexdat, they can input and they can access the data across the nation. So for example, some big brokerages can have their listing from east coast to west coast to east coast, and it's a much transparent platform without any dependencies.
So let me play devil's advocate because I've been in this game for a long time and I know exactly what the arguments are. One of the things that the local realtors will say, and this is how they maintain a monopoly, and I don't completely agree with it, but you need to have local knowledge. So an agent from out of town cannot come into my community and really competently, and this is where we get into ethics rules. They all have the rules of ethics, and they use the rules of ethics to discriminate, and it's not fair. It's not good. It goes against all the principles that you're sharing here. It's monopolistic. But the argument that they make is an out-of-town agent, if we're talking about the geographic problem, the geographic problem of who owns the data for this particular listing, they're going to say you don't know anything about this particular part of Los Angeles. You cannot competently represent your client. Therefore, we're not going to share this data with you because it's our data, and you need to hire one of our agents who actually knows the area because we have different laws. We have different property issues. We have different climate and environment issues. That the properties are all these different issues are things that you cannot possibly know about being from out of town. That's one of the issues. How do you respond to that? I just threw a whole bunch of stuff at you. Sorry.
No, I completely understand the question. So the talking point here is about, in quotes, our data, right? So now let's talk about what is our data. So I understand that real estate uh, is people's business. Though we have a lot of technology products out there, there's a lot of technical advances that we are bringing to real estate domain space. Um, but ultimately, real estate is always a tangible thing, so where you can touch and feel, and it's more of a people's business. It's a people's industry. There are pros and cons to that statement. I understand local businesses do want to have the control on their data so that you know ultimately they can succeed in doing business in the local markets and local areas. But if you start seeing and thinking from other side of the story, like what is our data? What exactly is our data, right? So can if I'm a very big fan of Elon Musk. I'm a very big fan of this, a lot of innovators, and a lot of people doing out of the box things, right? So in some of the things that Tesla and SpaceX and those companies and a lot of other companies like Amazon and what are like, again, I really want to give an example, like thinking out of the box and making that pie bigger and bigger will actually benefit the entire world, to be honest. But if you start restricting yourself and saying that this is our data, I mean, I'm completely agree with you, right? But because you want to be successful in your area, because that you're under the impression that that's your area and I need to have a control in that area. There's nothing wrong in it. But at the same time, my argument is, why can't you be transparent in doing the business in your area, right? So there is a thin line of difference out there. So yes, you stick to your area. That's your area. You can have your control in that area, but having a transparent model in doing the business will actually enhance the business and enhance your consumers in your area. So for example, hey, I don't want Relock to be in my area. I want to ban Relock in my area. I don't want anyone to use in my area. That's not how the world works because it's all internet world. You cannot really restrict anything. You cannot really control anything. It's up to the choice of the consumer, what consumer really needs ultimately, right? So going back to my topic of talking about these big products like Tesla, SpaceX, Amazon, whatnot. Like the reason why I'm bringing up this example is because if they sit in a room thinking the same, like, hey, this is our data, and I'm not going to put it outside. Where is the innovation, right? So if a person come and talk to Elon Musk saying that, hey, you know what, my community or my area, I don't want EV cars to be introduced in my area.
Mhm.
Is there any point in this argument? Technically
Doesn't
not,
make
right?
sense.
Ultimately, it's up to the choice of the consumer, what consumer really needs in this market, in this marketplace. So again, with the same in the real estate domain, it's not about my area, it's not about, I'm having the control in my area. It's all about how best you cater to your audiences, how best you cater in your own marketplace, and how can you be a leader in your marketplace. And Relock plus Rexdat solution actually make you to achieve that. So if you really want to be a leader in your marketplace, come and talk to us. Relock plus Rexdat will definitely make you a leader in your marketplace with the solutions and the products and the features that we have established, and with such a strong, you know, technical footprint that can definitely be achieved.
That's amazing. I love your argument. I agree with it wholeheartedly. We've been talking about Rexdata and some of the problems in the industry so much that I think we do have some agents that listen to our program here. So let's talk about Realock real briefly, and then we'll wrap it up. But Realock is a really nice product because agents can sign up. It's easy to onboard. There's no upfront cost, and the referral fee that Realock gets on the back end is 25%, which is much less than a lot of the others who do charge upfront fees and ongoing monthly costs. And the setup is kind of a nightmare. So, do you want to talk a little bit about Realock?
Yeah, Relock, it's the intention of coming up with Relock initially. I really wanted to see that as a multi-sided marketplace for real estate. So it's not just catering one side of the story, but we want to cater from from various aspects. So uh, today, Relock is in 8 states: California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Texas, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina. We're fully deployed in 8 states, and we have about 400 agents in the Relock marketplace. So we don't charge anything for real estate agents to be on the platform. So no subscription cost, zero front fee. It's purely on referral. So we we work in the marketplace, and when an agent receive a lead, and when leads get converted, and that's where the 25% transactional referral fee comes to Relock. Uh, when it comes to technology, one thing that I really want to bring up here, and which I really feel that we are very proud of ourselves in making Relock, is within no time, in since inception of our first seed funding, in less than 1 year, we developed the product, we scaled the product to 8 states. We have become a brokerage in 8 states and catering a lot of consumers out in the market, and that's a huge achievement. So if you see from competitors in the market, I mean, they've been there since last 2 decades and more than a decade, some of the competitors. But and when I look into their books, like when you compare from apples to apples, the amount of money that the other platforms have spent so far, and when you compare to Reload, it's literally peanuts. But that's exactly why I feel very proud about what we have achieved so far with a very, very less cost, whether it's a Relock or Rexdat. But as we are talking about Relock, uh, the next goal is to scale to further states moving forward, as currently we are in 8 states as of today. And we are encouraging and we are working with more agents to come on board. And ultimately, we want to give the best experience to consumers who are out there market looking for buying, selling, and mortgage offers.
I love what you're doing. You're bringing another product, another way for consumers and agents to interface with the real estate supply out there, and that's a huge problem. We have limited products out there, and you're doing it with good motives, transparency, and in a business model that I think works for everybody. What else would you like to say about your business, about anything else that we might have not covered?
One thing I really want to mention about Raylock and Rexdad is the goal that the company has right now is to bring one integrated solution to the real estate industry. The so-called the platform. So Relock plus Rexdad is the platform that we are anticipating to bring to the market in a much sophisticated way to all the participants. Whether it's a B2C, whether it's a B2B, whether it's agents, brokers, organizations, professionals, everyone, because there is definitely a very big gap in the industry uh, without having integrated solution, one integrated solution, whether it's from cost perspective, just tapping into a la carte solutions and whatnot. One integrated solution will definitely answer to all the questions that the industry currently have. And that's exactly the goal of Relock plus Rexstat together. It is going to be a super powerful product from step one to last step, whether it's for real estate agents, brokers, and also catering the consumers. It is going to be one ultimate platform. And talking about transparency, we give most importance to transparency, whether it's a B2B SaaS product Rexdad or B2C consumer facing product Relock. Our products are the most transparent platforms out there in the market. So looking to get more deep into the market and looking forward to introduce our products to different segments of the real estate industry and bring the best experience to all the parties here.
That's wonderful. Anvesh, thank you for your time today. And thanks to everybody who is listening. Look up rexdat.com. That's rexdat.com, and realoq.com, realoq.com. And thanks to everybody for joining us today.